This illustration deals with connections in accordance with NEC 408.18C1 through C3. The purpose of change is to provide a new subsection. This new subsection has been added to clarify that 110.26 clearances apply and institute these changes in the interest of protecting worker safety. Full compliance with NFPA 70E is always recommended. Equipment should not be worked on while energized unless the requirements of NFPA 70E are followed and appropriate precautions are taken. This change is to provide additional level of safety where permitted energized work is authorized. This revision provides requirements for when adjustable energized work needs to be performed and justified, and that nevertheless minimizes the possibility that a dropped tool will result in injury or damage or both. The wording of 408.3D in the 2017 National Electrical Code, by deleting the word line and thereby intending to reach this result by assuming that reaching across bus prohibition would apply to bus work even if de-energized. It did so because it was aware of the widespread reports of such practices continuing. Nevertheless, this gear is often installed against a wall precluding such rear access. By clarifying that a pretense of avoiding energized work will not follow evasion of the configuration requirement, will do two things. First, it will drive manufacturer practices in the direction in producing gear that will not be subject to the risk, and second, it will provide fully compliant workspaces in all directions of required access for existing or even future designs requiring rear and side access. Both of these developments would diminish work hazards that could occur. Neutral and equipment grounding terminals will only be permitted with direct access to achievable without reaching across uninsulated, ungrounded bus work. This requirement will not depend upon any presumed state of energization. Requirements for phase connections are less restrictive, with the reach across prohibition only applying to energized uninsulated bus. Line side bus in such cases is to be presumed as energized with respect to the load side of the circuits supplied. Now let's review the note first in blue, right below the equipment. This note deals with panel boards, and it's just a reminder that panel boards should not be installed in the face-up position as outlined in 408.43 of the NEC. Now, connections, let's review the connections that's right above the equipment. And of course, we know connections and all the regulations pertaining to connections is outlined in 408.18C. Wanting more information on the equipment grounds, then we would refer to 408.18C as in car 1. We could also review and find more information on grounded circuit conductors in 408.18C2. Ungrounded conductors are addressed so that we can find information pertaining to those in 408.8C3 as in car. Now notice in the illustration, you have back access, and that's based upon do we have access to energized components or not. If we have access to the energized components, then you need the same clearances from the back as you do from the front. So we would need to review 110.26 A1 through A3 and the table 110.26 A1 depending on the voltage being 1,000 volts or less. And if we're over 1,000 volts, naturally we'll review the NEC table 110.34. Now, let's review the sides of the switchboard or control panel listed in the room there. If you had access from the side to energize components and conductors, then again, you need working space there because you must remove covers, do your testing, so you interact with that equipment to do that. So then if the equipment comes under the large equipment rule, then you notice I either double the workspace in front and, to get in and out of there, or I have 2 doors provided. And so the clearance rules that we're talking about for these connections are outlined in 408.18C, which provides for rear and side field connections. We already have our rules for in front of the equipment that's highlighted and outlined well for the designer, the installer. So they wanted to drive home this thought that you have to have those clearances for the side and back if you're removing covers and gaining access into energized components and electrical conductors. So this illustration deals with connections in accordance with 408.18 C1 through C3, as in car.